I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black T News. Hello, welcome to Black T News. I'm your host, Christy Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Mr. McBride, who is a trans Congress person who identifies as a woman. There's a big, dispute about whether or not he was going to be allowed in women's bathrooms, and so now there's, disputes about what people are going to call him, because you have to address them as the gentleman from Delaware or the woman from the lady, I don't know, the gentleman, what is they call him gentleman or whatever. So in this case, he's been called Mr., and there was a Democrat who flipped out on the Republican who called him Mr., which he called the person Madam in response. So I want to talk about that and the blow up. I know Michael Knowles had him on his program today, the congressman self who addressed Mr. McBride. I didn't get to watch that yet to see what he said, but I thought it was very important that they do address him as a man. And I've been very, very militant myself as far as being on the forefront of no, don't let them in the bathrooms. No, don't let them in the locker rooms. No, don't do any of that stuff, but also don't play the pronoun game. And people push back on me like, no, I think it's okay to do the pronoun game. I think you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. And even people like Ben Shapiro and other folks sometimes would say things like, oh, well, how I address you privately might be different than how I might address you publicly. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, because if you're just talking to someone a different way privately, it just seems like you're I don't know, pandering to them, and you could do that to be polite, but there's an aspect that you're betraying the truth still. So if the argument is that it's immoral to live a lie and to perpetuate a lie, then you have to tell the truth. So we'll be talking about that. I want to talk about Disney is apparently really not rolling out the red carpet for Snow White. Like even their premieres, they don't want like press and other stuff like that. So it's probably going to be really bad, the impact. And they've done just everything wrong with this movie. Variety wrote a piece about all the kind of missteps, and some people were offended by them mentioning Gal Gadot. Like Gal Gadot also, she's spoken out. Yeah, because she about October 7th, like, yeah, because she's Jewish. She's Israeli. Those are her people, like that's not controversial. Rachel Zegler has done a lot of things that have been very controversial. Her support of Free Palestine is like not even like the top of the list of things that they've done to sabotage this movie. Also want to touch on some of the backlash from this expulsion of this student who helped to organize terrorizing Jewish students, and the left and them flipping out about it. And I'm just like, I don't understand how they pick and choose their heroes. Well, I know I keep saying I don't understand when I clearly understand. It's just a phrase. I don't mean that literally. I guess I do understand. It's just remarkable. It's remarkable. All the bad decisions they keep doubling down on. So we'll touch on that as well. But before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteenies.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream, run my site, all the good stuff you guys can support. I very much do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. You guys can also support by, checking out different merch that's available on the site. And you guys can also, check out different books that I've written. I have 17 altogether. I did see a nice new review on Amazon for The Color of God's Eye. So thank you. If that was Bailey, I think, who bought the book. Thank you very much. There's a link in the description of watching on Facebook or YouTube that will take you to an Amazon page where all my books are listed. I have 17 altogether. And one of those books is nonfiction and is, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. So I encourage you guys to check that out. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. I was there was one video that I saw, it was very quick, of a woman just it was like when people say they're pro-choice and Christian, it's like that, and she was just making faces and stuff. It was just a quick little TikTok video, and it got a lot of views and a lot of comments. And so some of them were just, silly. One of them started off with, I believe in separation of church and state, and God gives us free will. And so I responded, when people bring up separation of church and state, they usually don't know where it's from. They usually don't know what it means and what its purpose. But I didn't even address that. I didn't want to get to a big fight about it. But I just went with the other part, and I said, okay, if God gives us free will, and that's your response to why we should allow abortion, then why don't you keep that same energy with other stuff? If a man wanted to kill his child, you wouldn't say, well, God gives us free will. God gives us, choices, so we should be able to make them. We still have laws to, keep order and peace and respect people's rights. And I said that the government's job is to protect our unalienable rights, which is a right to life. And then it moved on to abortion as healthcare. So it went from, here's my principled theological position that doesn't make any sense, that's not consistent, and I point out the flaw in the logic, and then we just leap to just jargon that's typical of pro-choicers. Okay, so you're just pro-abortion. It's got nothing to do with a biblical stance at all. And I said, okay, how healthy is the son or daughter after the abortion? That's my usual response. And then they're like, I think what should matter is the living, breathing woman. And I said, well, how come the living fetuses who literally pump oxygenated blood throughout their own body doesn't matter? Because people, I don't know, they say living and breathing as if the fetus doesn't do that. It's obviously alive. That's why it's growing. That's why you want the abortion to kill it, right? So it's technically and objectively alive. And they can't oxygenate their own blood. I mean, their lungs are underdeveloped, not working. That's not how their bodies are hooked up to work that way. But through the placenta, they do get oxygenated blood from their mother, and they also get the nutrients from their mother as well. But their own heart pumps it through their body. So they do need help, just like we all need sources of oxygen. And we can oxygenate our blood. That's what our lungs and stuff do. But we need nutrients, and we need sources of oxygen. And if we don't have them, we'll die. So they're alive. And so once I said that, then they just jumped to, you don't care about women. So very interesting how those arguments tend to go. I would just rather just straight up, you let me know that you're, I don't know, a zealot in the cause of abortion, instead of pretending like there's some kind of I don't know, ethic behind it or something. Anyway, let's jump to the news. The first thing I want to talk about, though, before I get to my main topics, I saw this report on X about a man who was detained by ICE, which, by the way, Trump has been they've been deporting people and arresting people, but even at the rate that they're going, they are definitely not going to do the most deportations in history as Trump has been claiming. So they really do have to rev it up. This budget, you know, getting that stuff passed. I know there's a lot of stuff on it that it should help. I mean, but getting more law enforcement stuff actively working together to get people out will obviously help. And if people, I mean, Trump still has opposition from the Democrats and the sanctuary cities and people suing him, blah, 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 blah. They are working hard, but they're not going to reach those numbers unless they rev them up. Just wanted to brace you for the eventual narrative that will materialize if they don't ramp things up. They have to just up the speed and up the manpower. Anyway, new ICE Dallas has arrested a Mexican illegal alien who killed a man in Dallas County in 2022 by stabbing him 7 times, then set his corpse on fire, but received 0 prison time despite pleading guilty to manslaughter. Instead, he was released into the community by the 265th District Court, according to ICE. That's insane. That's insane. I think there was another part of that he had said, but maybe not. And why would this judge do this? Why would they allow this to happen? How many times has this happened? People who have committed this is not just stealing a toothbrush or something like that. This is violent crime. He killed somebody. Stabbed them 7 times. And when Adam Schiff, I think it was trying to reason why he didn't support the Lake and Riley Act. He's like, well, what about people who, all they do is they take a toothbrush or something like that? First of all, you shouldn't be stealing stuff. You shouldn't be stealing stuff. Like a flashback and when someone broke in my car and stole my laptop and stuff. You shouldn't be stealing stuff. You think we should just let you come here and you've already like broken the laws and now you continue to disrespect them and stealing people's property? No, you shouldn't be able to do that. So that's dumb anyway. It's not as severe as stabbing someone 7 times. But just a really poor excuse to not vote for something that's just so freaking common sense. But this is insane. It's insane that it could happen one time. It's insane that it could happen one time. But think about how many times this could have happened. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Something also insane, but a little bit lighter. But that just upsets me. It just upsets me. It's really sad. Anyway, in nonsense world, Congressman Keith Self called Sarah McBride, Mr. McBride, Mr. McBride or Congressman McBride, caused some controversy when he came in, and then there was a big dispute about what bathroom he was going to use. Now he just like conceded, but it was in the news. You had Nancy Mace who made a big deal about it, and Democrats who were pushing back and making a big deal about it. He wisely conceded. I thought politically that was a good move for him, but he's still retaliating when people don't want to accept his gender identity. And you'll see an example here. He doesn't like blow up, but he does something petty in response. So let's go ahead and watch this in case you haven't seen it already.
And also providing the ability for Moldova to generate its own power, but also run power in from Europe. Much of that's gone now. And we're going to leave Moldova at the behest of Russia, which will reinstate its gun-running, thug-running operation again.
Again, not in our best interest. Thank you. I yield back.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr.
I'm
Chairman,
sorry.
could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the
Representative.
standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply,
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Can you
Reality,
repeat what you just said when you introduced?
standard of facts, reality, subjective truth. We'll keep just watching him explode here.
A duly elected representative from the United States of America, please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You
hearing.
will
Whatever.
not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
He did.
This hearing is adjourned.
Now, I saw plenty of Democrats like sticking up for so happy that Keating stuck up for McBride here. I just did a little, April said that she found it hilarious. So I did a quick little sanity test. I'll see how long it stays up on TikTok, but I said, we're going to test your level of sanity. Okay. We're going to see how you react to this video. Now, if you watched that video and heard Self refer to McBride as Mr. and you were upset about that, but you weren't upset that McBride called him Madam, you might be a little cuckoo. You might be a little cuckoo. Okay? Because Self is just being honest. McBride is a Mr. McBride is a man. And nothing McBride can do will change that. Everyone can lie on McBride's behalf, but he's still going to be Mr. McBride. He's still going to be a dude. Always going to be a man. Always going to be a man. So he's just deciding not to violate his conscience, is telling the truth, and is addressing him as he ought to be addressed. McBride, if referring to people in gendered language inappropriately is such a terrible thing, then why is he saying Madam? Now, I understand that the point is you're not going to address me the way I want to be addressed. I want you to see how it feels. So he's doing a petty tit for tat. But Self isn't doing it to be rude. He's doing it to be honest. He's doing it to be honest. And you can think that it's rude, but I think there's something wrong with you if you have such an issue with the truth. If you are that triggered by the truth, someone being honest, then you have a problem. McBride is a man. He cannot accept that. Maybe other people don't want to accept that, but Self is not wrong or being evil or whatever. He's like, you have no decency. No, he's being honest. So the metric of decency is how much you're willing to lie to people to spare their feelings. That's how we measure decency. I don't think that's the case. We've talked recently this week about folks and Sam Cedar was on Jubilee and he was debating this Christian fundamentalist guy, and they were debating that subject, and the Christian said he was trying to nail down his worldview because Sam he's not like terribly, I guess, anti-religious. I don't watch him that much to know if that holds water, but he doesn't, really. It could be fair to say he's an atheist or whatever, but they went back and forth. It was like, well, you don't have a worldview, and Sam didn't really know how to explain it. And when he was pressed every time by the Christian, he didn't really have a great answer. And so I thought a lot of religious debating people have shared it and said, oh, Sam got destroyed here. And the Christian's point is that, whether it's Sam Cedar or Andrew Wilson debating Dill Hunty like a year ago or whatever, if you allow your humanist secular worldview to rule, eventually you get to a place where decency is just lying to people, and lying to people about something so basic and real and true, objectively true, leads to them sterilizing themselves, chopping off their body parts, and forcing other people to play along, or they're not good, decent people. So society is, maybe not literally holding a gun up to their head, but maybe socially or whatever, you have to obey and keep pushing that the emperor has no clothes. You have to keep doing that. So that's not moral. That's not right. It's not right. So a lot of people want to spare his feelings, but I didn't. None of these people said a peep about McBride calling him madam, and they probably clapped. Some people were happy that he did that as the clapback, but again, he's betraying his own ethic. And by the way, trans people have done that to me. Like, I was on a live one time and I was referring to a trans woman as a man, and he started calling me a dog and calling me all kinds of different things, not just like getting my pronouns wrong, like just started being really, really rude and calling me things outside of my name to, I don't know, bully me into compliance. you know and then the other trans people on his on his side didn't I don't know, speak up or seek out any kind of issue with treating me disrespectfully. I wasn't being disrespectful. I was being honest. I was just being truthful. You're the one purposely being disrespectful and dehumanizing me. But it's just bully, 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 my way or the highway. So I have been saying that it's necessary to not allow people into the bathrooms. You're like, well, what if they pass? I'm like, I guess if they pass, I don't know what you really can do. Like, if they really, really look like they pass and they go in and out, pee in and out, and that's all it is, I wouldn't encourage that. I'm not going to say that's okay. Realistically, I don't know what you could really do to stop it if they're really in and out, and not like hiking up their leg and taking selfies saying, haha, I'm in a woman's bathroom and posting it on social media, like they've killed some kind of prey, like a lion or something, like, here's my kill, and it's a bathroom sink. So if you don't know, I don't realistically know how you really stop that. But there's a lot of people out here who think they can pass or claim that they can pass, but we know that they're men because they live as trans women and they make it their whole lifestyle. Their whole platform is being trans. So if we know you're a man, then why should we let you into the bathroom? If everyone knows you're a dude and you've told us you don't want to live a quiet, incognito, in and out life. We're all aware that you're a guy. So there's different reasons why you don't want them in your private spaces, because, it could be a safety issue, a privacy issue. But there's also engaging in truth. If that is a space that's supposed to be for females, then it should be a space for females. I mean, exceptions like children or something like that, when you have to deal with them. But they shouldn't be in that space, because allowing into them space starts, blurring the lines of what is true, or what we're willing to lie about. So it's a principled issue, and it always has been a principled issue for me, on top of the other ones. But the principled one is very important. So with the bathroom thing, if it's true with the principled issue on that, it's very much true as far as the addressing with the pronouns and other things like that. So folks who want to spare the feelings and are willing to say something that's not truthful, I don't believe that's correct. I don't believe that's correct. And I don't believe it's respectful. Like if you like purposely lying to me about something, that makes me look at you shady. Like you can get something wrong and be wrong and accidentally tell me something that's not true, something you believe to be true, and you screwed up. But if you're deliberately like I don't find that to be respectful. Like we that would make me think that you think less of me. So and you don't necessarily have to like blurt things out to people to you know harass them, I guess. But if it's a situation like most of the time you wouldn't be addressing someone with their pronouns or whatever anyway, if you're directly having a conversation with them. If you're talking about them to someone else, like those that might come up or something. And obviously it will come up in a situation when you're in Congress and you're saying they have to address each other like the gentleman from Delaware or whatever. That's just like what they do. But like if you want to be polite to people, in private settings and stuff, you can just address someone by their name, but I don't think you should adhere to the myth, the legend, and affirm something that's just contrary to the truth, contrary to reality. And there's been people who have been way softer on the issue than I have, but someone on a video that I posted today, they said, I used to just say you live and let live, but this nonsense has gone on so long that they're, kind of more militant about it. And, I think that's a good thing. And people might say I'm too rough or that's mean or whatever. We got to stop lying to people about this. We got to stop lying, and we've got to stop building up the falsity to young people who might consider being trans or people who are confused and considering being trans. We have to tell people the truth that no one has to treat you like your gender identity. No one has to do that. So whatever internal struggles that you have, if you want to flip them inside out for the whole world to see, no one has to go along with your self-perception. And you might have to deal with that uncomfortable feeling that you have on top of people still referring to the way that you actually are. So if people were honest, maybe people could find a way to deal with the world easier than going in with this unrealistic expectation of making everyone bow to their whims. So anyway, they won't let us live in our own spaces. That's what April's saying. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like, why are people so focused on this issue? Because they've so made it about themselves. And like even with the situation with McBride did the madam thing, like is decided to be like passive aggressive. I don't know that maybe that wasn't passive aggressive, it was still aggressive, but it wasn't like he didn't blow up, right? He didn't blow up after being addressed as Mr. He just did his petty little thing, and that was going to be the shade that he decided to throw, and it was going to be what it was. And then the Democrat decided to be like, no, you have to do it properly. You have to bow. You have to do. No one has to do that. No one has to do that. So anyway, let's move on here. I want to talk about this Syrian national that's a non-US citizen who was being deported because he did some pretty radical things, organizing some pretty radical protest, being supportive of Hamas. And it's clear in the law that you can be dejected from the United States as a non-citizen for acting a fool. But it is, Guy Benson pointed out, there's an outrage gap. He said, right here, there's a U.S. citizen, Eden Alexander, who was forcibly abducted during the 10/7 bloodbath. He's been held hostage by Hamas for more than 500 days, and the left is a Syrian national and a non-U.S. citizen who's spent the last 18 months in America loudly supporting Eden's kidnappers. And do you guys I remember October 7th and the craziness that was going on like it was yesterday. I certainly reported about it a lot. And I saw so many videos of people just posting photographs of like missing people's posters of the people who were kidnapped, and crazy people going around and just tearing them down. Like there's just so much outrage about these people who were abducted, including US citizens. So this is a good point about the outrage gap. And there's folks losing their mind because someone who is not a citizen is on our soil supporting a terrorist organization who did kidnap Americans and voicing support. So Speaker Johnson was asked about it, and I want to go ahead and play this clip from him. And this post here, I'm not going to read it all, but it was from a woman talking about how a lot of people just don't understand how hard it was for Jewish students at the universities, and maybe they think that they're exaggerating. But she said, let me explain it to you. As a mother of one, we had to remove our kids out of the campuses, not just because of the protests and the tents and the blocking their access to everywhere in campus, but because of the constant death threats. Were very dangerous and disgusting physical gestures, shouting and banging on their dorm doors day and night, stupid jokes violating their privacy in the bathrooms, and fear of having God knows what in their food because of the Kifa people serving in the cantina, and just all kinds of stuff. So they were really being mistreated, and a lot of these kids are really fearing for their lives, and we have certain civil rights protections that these campuses should be meeting, and that's why like Columbia University is losing some grants and stuff, and that's an issue of course for the school. So they should be, the campuses should be a safe place for these folks. But something they can do, and Rubio has been a proponent of, and Trump is like, if they're so great, you take them. Like, we don't want him here, you take him. Then like take him back. He's like, I don't want him here. They don't need to be here. But here's Mike Johnson talking about it. He was asked about it.
Yeah. In your estimation, what crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his green card?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that.
He asked him what crime he committed, and you don't have the law itself. If you're not a resident here and you're going around supporting terror, you don't have the right to be here. You can be dejected. You are not a citizen. It's not like he went out and he killed somebody, but he did. Well, I'll just let Johnson talk about it.
Stuff. When the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own observation, not something I read in the newspaper. It was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were hauled away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for fear of their physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed, and now they got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The first responsibility of an administration is ensuring the safety of the students who are paying tuition to be there, for crying out loud. This madness has to stop. We have to get control of it. This guy apparently was a mastermind of those very things, when the gnashing of teeth and the ripping of clothes and the people screaming at me, wanting to rip me limb from limb because I was there talking about moral clarity and how there's a right and a wrong. They were doing that. They disrupted the campus. They were threatening physical violence to their fellow students. If you're on a student visa, I'm going to say this clearly. If you are on a student visa and you're in America and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates, you're going home. We're going to arrest your tail and we're going to send you home where you belong. And this is just getting started. So look, I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that. When you are threatening your classmates and spewing anti-Semitism and all this hatred, it's enough. And I think the American people understand that. They're supporting it. And I'm glad we have a president who's strong enough to lay down the law. Thanks a lot.
You're sheriff in town.
Yeah, so I don't get Democrats and why they're on so many crusades for like the worst people, why they're so 80-20 issues. Gavin Newsom claimed the other day about the women's sports thing. You know, they said, this is like an 80-20 issue thing that you're pushing. And it might have also been with the no, I think it was the conversation they had about the teachers, the law that was passed in California that if they withhold information about like your kid being trans or something, they can't be fired. Like Gavin Newsom was protecting the teachers if they want to keep secrets from the parents. And Charlie was like, that's like this is an 80-20 issue. And he's like, well, I appreciate that, understand that, but some things are principled. And I went off about that because I'm like, if it's your principled position that teachers should be able to hide things from the parents that deal with their mental health, you're a creep and you shouldn't be around any kids, is what I said. But I don't think a lot of these people have many principles. But if that's his principles, that's wild. And I mean, we're in different parties. We believe different things. At the end of the day, I hope that man never becomes president. I just if that's just the case, that their principles are just that far removed, that we've seen them utter more disgust in not specifically Gavin, but Democrats in general, just generalizing here. They're more upset about this pro-terrorist kid being ejected from the United States than they are about these Jewish students have been terrorized. It's just awful. But there's plenty of Democrats though who have been supportive of these hostages and who want them home and who have supported Israel and so on. But there's plenty who have just had mixed sort of messaging as well. But anyway, Bruce wanted to talk about that. I want to talk about Disney though. I want to talk about Disney. Variety put out an article about Disney and the premiere of Snow White and how bad it's going. And it's pretty darn bad. We'll start reading this so you can kind of get the feel for how bad it is. Now there's some political things that are maybe making people not want to see it, sure, but the politics isn't even the top of the list. This movie's had issues from the get-go, from beginning with casting Rachel Zegler and then Peter Dinklage, making saying comments that convinced them to not have dwarves in playing the dwarves or whatever, little people playing the dwarves. And then they were just going to have, then there was like the hobo encampment folks that they had. They're just like terrible. And then Disney's like, no, that's not true. That's not them. And they're like, okay, actually those are our dwarves. and then they just ended up doing CGI dwarves, and they don't look great. They don't look great. Anyway, Disney scales back Snow White Hollywood premiere amid Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot controversies. And I think that's really doing a disservice to Gal Gadot to call what she's been doing a controversy. Now, there are people who don't like her and who have spoken out against her because she's Israeli and wanted to draw attention to the massacre of her people. But to put any blame on her about this movie failing, and if you're going to say her acting or something, you don't care for her acting, people are talking about her acting or whatever. But don't to bring up this Israel stuff is nuts. Like, don't blame that on that at all, man. Okay. And by the way, I don't even understand. There's so many things I don't even understand about this movie and the direction of it. But look at her hair. Like, why is it so flat on her head? Like, why isn't it just like kind of more bouncy and curly here? Like, she probably just took off her hood or whatever. But even in other spots, in the trailers and stuff, it doesn't look good. It's not a good look on her. Her head looks big and all kind. People have compared it to Lord Farquaad from Shrek. I don't understand. Her dress also doesn't look good either. Like the classic Snow White, their take on this dress, just so many things don't look good. So there's the politics of the movie. There's the casting, but there's the whole thing looks like it's going to be a mess, and it's just really going to be unfortunate if they try to blame this movie bombing even on the politics, not just from Gal Gadot, but even Rachel Zegler. Like the politics stuff is, Zegler being like pro like Palestine or whatever. That's been in the media for a minute. The comments that she made about Trump supporters that happened after the election, but this movie was tanking and going in a bad direction way before that. So even if she like nailed the role, it seems like there's things that creatively Disney itself just failed on. So it's just overall collection of hot garbage. Now, I haven't seen this movie. I don't plan to see this movie. And definitely not in theaters. I've decided to take less of an adversarial stance against Disney because I think they're kind of changing up their direction, but I don't have a passion right now to see their stuff. So that's something that they still have to fix if they want, I guess, my time and money or whatever. But it just, everything about it is wrong. And people might be like, why are folks so caught up on Snow White? Like, people don't even like her that much. Like, she's Snow White was like Walt Disney's baby. That was his film. When I was a kid, I liked Snow White. I had a Snow White doll. I had the dwarves. I had a pillowcase. When there was some iconic like bedding and stuff from like that era in the 90s. I bet a lot of people probably had the same, kind of set that I did. And I remember like trying to draw them, and I think my sister, drew something from Snow White and stuff. Like, I just have these memories. Maybe when I was a kid, that was sometimes when Disney releases things from their vault. Maybe that was my time, my era, whatever, when they re-release something. And sometimes when you're young and they release something, it kind of becomes a part of your era and something that you're attached to. I'm not like tremendously attached to it. It's not like my favorite film or whatever, but I know it and like it enough to not appreciate what they've been doing to it. Anyway, let's listen to some of the things they is going on. Disney is hosting a Hollywood premiere of Snow White on March 15th, but the studio won't be rolling out a robust red carpet like it usually does. Ew, ew, ew. Alarms there. The afternoon festivities, it will include a pre-party and screening at El Capitan Theater with the titular character Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot, who plays the evil queen, expected to attend. However, the red carpet will not include the dozens of media outlets usually invited by Disney to interview the cast and creatives at its premieres. Instead, coverage will be limited to photographers and a house crew. That's weird. That's weird. The studio did not comment for the story, but the scaled back plans come amid controversy surrounding the Mark Webb directed film, which hits theaters March 21st. Yeah, that's not good, guys. That's not good. I think they just, and they did like reshoots or rethink because they had to change the dwarves and stuff. So there's a lot of this is just has not been worth the struggle. And I don't understand how you get so much wrong about like one of your most iconic princesses. I don't understand. This is something I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I know sometimes I just throw out that phrase. I don't understand how they can mess something like this up to the degree that they messed it up. And so it's so obvious how you make this film work, and they took every single wrong turn. So they mentioned Rachel Zegler when she, mentioned she's not gonna wait around to be saved by a prince. They start off talking about how people didn't want her to be Snow White, because she's Latina, and that's kind of obvious, but she called him a stalker, the prince, and a lot of people have talked about each and every controversy. I've talked about them at length. Like, her opinion on Snow White doesn't make sense. In the film, the prince does kiss her and wakes her up and stuff, but the dwarves are really the hero of the story, which really baffles me to why Peter Dinklage decided to just bash on dwarves and say it was like backwoods or whatever. And people say that he's pulling up the ladder behind him, and that seems to be the truth. I mean, if he thinks it's of the story, oh, sorry, I buzzed out for a second. If he thinks it's degrading to play like the hero of the story, like, dude, you were an angry elf he wasn't an elf, but he was, played himself. He was like a children's literary genius or whatever in the movie Elf, but he got confused for an elf and did a little fight scene and stuff. So if you could do stuff like that, I don't understand why you can't allow. And it's not, I mean, he didn't make the decision, Disney made the decision, but they did that based off of things that he said. They're the heroes of the tale. They're the heroes of the tale. But he said his comments, but Disney didn't have to listen to him. So that was another controversy. And of course, we know that led to them changing their dwarves, and they had a mix of different people some were tall, some were short, some was black and other stuff. And their costumes looked terrible, and people were calling them hobo encampment folks. And so it had such a bad reaction, Disney scrapped that. And then now they have the CGI dwarves that don't look great. So that was another controversy. It was so stupid for Disney to do that. And the statement was, to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting members of the dwarfism community. So stupid. And they all told you that they don't want a job. Is that what the dwarfism community told you? Is that what they really told you? Yeah, right. Yeah, freaking right. And Zegler recently said she thinks the backlash to the film is because they have so much passion for the original film, and she's probably had a lot of talking to from I don't know, agents at Disney or whoever to not say anything crazy. and not to fuel and feed into like more anger and build upon it. So she said, I interpret people's sentiments toward this film as passion. What an honor to be part of something that people feel so passionately about. We are not always going to agree with everyone who surrounds us, and all we can do is our best. So yeah, I say she'd start to learn some lessons. But the Free Palestine stuff upset folks. And they mentioned Gal Gadot and her speaking out. Now, people were mad at Gal Gadot because she showed that October 7th film that was compiled with just footage that, like camera footage, that was like from surveillance cameras or things that the terrorists actually uploaded themselves because they wanted people to see, they wanted people to know, they wanted people to talk about it. And so, you know, the government was showing different people's stuff. So she did a screening and folks were so upset about it. Folks are upset about her talking about it. She apparently did an amazing speech, but I didn't watch it. Maybe I'll find we can watch it if we have time. I don't think we'll have time today, but she said, never did I imagine on the streets of the United States and different cities around the world we would see people not condemning Hamas but celebrating, justifying, and cheering on a massacre of Jews. And I'm sure there was more riveting things in her speech than that, but it is crazy the world that we were living in. And if anyone is thinking that Snow White is going to bomb because of her controversial statement, that wasn't controversial. And it wasn't some people. A lot of people are upset about it because they're crazy terror supporters. But that has nothing. It's not even a dent compared to all the other things going on with this film. The dumb comments from Rachel Zegler and their politics, how they feel about Palestine and Israel, are not the reason this movie's not going to do well. It's not. The dumb comments rate higher, for sure. But the bones of this movie do not look good. And those are creative decisions that the director, that the writers, and Disney executives themselves decided to make. And then they do mention, after the Gal Gadot part, in February, several dozen pro-Palestine protesters gathered outside the Hollywood premiere of Captain America: Brave New World and called for a boycott of the film over its inclusion of an Israeli superhero, Ruth Bat Safara, aka Sabra, played by an Israeli actress, Shira Haas. That was true, that there were people upset that an Israeli superhero was going to be in Captain America. From my understanding, I did not watch it. Her screen time was so limited that it really wasn't worth the protest. But if you were that upset that a real comic book character was in there for a little bit, it's probably just because you're anti-Semitic. It's probably because you're just anti-Semitic. So they added that in there to just drive it home that, you know, this movie doing well is partly, I guess, because of Gal Gadot and her pro-Israel stance and the sentiments around the film. And they did also mention MAGA supporters blasting Rachel Zegler, because she said, may Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. She said things even more wild than that, but she did end up apologizing. But, you know, people were already probably not going to see the film by that point anyway. Like, I mean, even, okay. She shouldn't have been cast, but even them casting Rachel and then them casting Gal Gadot as the queen, in people's minds are like, this doesn't make sense to me, because why would Gal Gadot be jealous of just about anyone, but really Rachel Zegler? And then even like people were posting them at the Oscars, and and weren't even saying anything, but I guess that was supposed to be the comparison thing again. And her dress, I don't know what was up with her dress. Like it was just like the wrong fit. I'm like, how can you be that flat chested and not fit into your dress? Anyway, they're just the movie's not gonna do well, and maybe it never was. Maybe they never had anything good about it, and they're gonna blame it on the outrage and the politics and all that stuff. But they screwed up with their own movie. How hard would it have been to cast a pretty, pale, white girl who can sing, do her hair short and curly, and it just looks so bad. It looks so bad. Get some dwarves, some little people to play the dwarves. You know, there's only people can do roles beyond kind of their height, but why not give them the opportunity to be the beloved heroes of the story and have people doing the movie who are going to appreciate the source material, and it doesn't have to be shot for shot, but it could be pretty darn close to it. We've seen a lot of Snow White tales that were really good, and by the way, people were like, Charlize Theron, why would she be jealous of anybody? You know. But Snow White and the Huntsman, I did I like that film. I think I've probably only seen it the one time though. I think I've probably only seen it the one time. I did see the sequel, the Huntsman, and I don't remember the title of it, but that one was pretty good. I never saw Mirror Mirror. A lot of people say Mirror Mirror was really good, but I've never seen it. I've seen snippets of it, like little clips here or there. But this isn't giving. And even the song, they did a new song for the film, and it's probably Oscar bait. And who knows, maybe it'll win. The last Oscar song was awful. So maybe it'll win. But it's a song from what I heard. I haven't heard the whole thing. It sounds okay. It doesn't sound like amazing or anything, but it sounds okay. But it does sound really contemporary. And to fit in with these other sort of songs, I don't know about that. So why didn't they put the red bow in her hair, and why they put the part down the middle is looking pretty brutal. I don't know. Like, and no one just kind of looked at the costume, and no one looked at the hair and was like, we need to have a conversation. We need to reevaluate some things. Nobody in the entire set was like, this isn't a great look. I don't get it. I don't get it. And they spend hundreds of millions of dollars to screw all this stuff up. There's a theory that people include some of this inclusion kind of DEI stuff. Like they'll cast someone of color in a role and maybe they shouldn't be in a lead, or so if it doesn't do well, one, they do want the hype around it, if the controversy, people talking about it, word of mouth kind of stuff, and the rage watching and the people like passionately defending it, so they'll go out and watch. I do think that's maybe baked into it. I do think there is ideology like, no, we had too many white people in the past, so we need to change things up. But it is funny if they feel that way, then why have we waited so many years for a Princess and the Frog movie? Or, there's just other opportunities that they could have had to highlight some other characters of color. You know, it'd be cool if they even did an Atlantis film. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like live action Disney stuff, but um they could probably do well with like the Atlantis Disney movie. That's kind of more of a cult classic anyway. I feel like they could maybe get away with taking some liberties. Not that they really need to, but there's just other options they could had done to highlight diversity. It's true, like the early princesses, you have a lot of white people, but that's not the reality of all Disney film across all the years that we've seen Disney stuff. But so they didn't need to do this. They didn't need to do this to Snow White. Her skin was as white as snow. Not literally, but you know, it's just kind of white. And now I think it's because of there was a storm or something, and that's why they named her Snow White. So now they built it in with these controversies, so if it fails, they can blame toxic fans instead of their bad decisions. Well, it's true they're toxic fans. But this is all on Disney. All on Disney. Beyond the casting, there's a lot of things that don't look good. Anyway, we're at an hour. We can have just a 1 hour show today. Let me go through my timeline real quick. If there was anything else I kind of wanted to address with you guys today before I let you go. I will say this before I go. I think maybe I even mentioned this yesterday. I'm not sure. But I saw a Don Lemon video. It was someone was stitching it, so I just saw the beginning part of it. And Don Lemon said that we were in a recession. I think I did mention this yesterday. But I don't think I showed you guys this tweet from the past from Joe Biden. But anyway, he said that we are in a recession and we're being ruled by a dictator or whatever, which isn't true. But he said we're in a recession. Now, I find that very fascinating because this was Biden in January. The economy I am leaving America is the best in the world and stronger than ever for all Americans. What the heck? There are things that I don't love about what Trump's doing with the tariffs. And I don't like the instability in I'll do it this day, I'll take him off. I don't think that's great. But if you think he broke the entire economy in like a month and a half, 2 months or whatever, and it was the best economy in the world, according to Joe Biden. Now, a lot of people were like, I'm not feeling that. And they told you, Joe Biden told you that people had money to spend, and people got so mad. That was like the highest video I ever got on TikTok talking about Biden saying they got money. They're just mad that they have to spend more of it. It's like, and there's people in the comments saying, no, I'm a teacher and I'm eating beans and toast. No, they say beans and toast, but like just things like that. I know in England they eat beans and toast. I don't know why that's the first thing that popped in my mind, but you know, have just a little bit to last them until payday. People are struggling, choosing between between food and medicine for themselves and their kids. Like, it's not that we have money, it's just that we have less. And some things we're not getting. But they try to tell you the economy was great, the economy was amazing, all this stuff. And now that Trump is president, they're like, oh, recession. If there's a recession, that means it was already bad. It means it was already bad, bro. Definitionally. Trump hasn't had enough time to do a recession all by himself. So, I just want to point that out before I let you guys go. Anyway, thank you for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like, why do you please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost to stream, run my site, all that good stuff. If you guys can support, I very much appreciate it. You guys can also check out different merch that's available at the store as well, different hoodies and t-shirts you guys can check out. And I encourage you guys to check out some of my books. March is reading month, by the way, so I have a lot that you can choose from. There's a link in the description. It'll take you to an Amazon page where you guys can learn more. And I just want to say, I didn't say it, as I start, I always like to say thank you to all of you who are watching live and to those of you who watch back later, those of you who comment and even commenting. I know not everybody can donate something or maybe necessarily buy something, but even just commenting and liking those, that does draw more eyes to the stream. And and you guys communicate with each other. I saw like a side conversation about someone saying I'm going to pray for you, and I think you guys are so great, and you guys are so great interacting with each other. It feels like we have it's a little community, but we do have a community. So I look forward to streaming and talking to you guys every day. And it seems like you guys also enjoy engaging with each other. So and I know there's a Facebook crowd. It looks like only Anna was on Facebook today commenting. I know there's other people on Facebook, but yeah, it looks like Anna was alone. It's folks on YouTube were talking to each other. But I can see everything coming in. So I'm appreciative of all you guys. And just want to say it before I let you go. Anyway, I appreciate you, and I will see you guys on tomorrow.